Charlie Marlow Show, 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com. Let's talk some Cardinals baseball. Cardinals and Brewers tied for first now in the National League Central at 17-12. Cards have won 5 in a row after last night, 6-5, the win over the Mets. Adam Wainwright on the mound, 5 2/3. Gave up 5 earned runs, had 5 strikeouts. And we'll get to Adam Wainwright because I think that's the most interesting part of last night's game is actually Adam Wainwright's postgame, which we will play. But Harrison Bader with a home run and Nolan Arenado with a 3-run homer. Jimmy Heuer. In the last several years, can you remember a player who is more vocal about the fact that he is so happy to be a St. Louis Cardinal? And you think back, it's not like the Rockies over the years were this awful expansion type team. And I'm talking about the last 5 years or so. And you had a lot of good players around him. Trevor Story, Charlie Blackmon, right? And the comments that he's made since he's been here, it's like I've never heard a player be so excited and be so happy to be somewhere else and to be a St. Louis Cardinal. And it sure seems genuine.
It definitely does, man. It's pretty cool watching him. I didn't realize the energy he can bring to a baseball game. I mean, that at bat last night where, and they were talking about it prior to it, but I mean, he's always moving, right? His feet are moving. He's up and down. Most guys are, okay, I got to get set, got to get my hands in the right. He's just all over the place. And the excitement level when he's at the plate, it's at a different level. I mean, he crushed the one foul right before the home run, and he went, oh, woulda, coulda. Oh, the next one, he just, boom, nailed it. You went, no doubt, it's gone. And then you watch a guy like that play defensively, and no play is impossible for this dude. It just makes it more fun as we get Cam, by the way, back. You're going to laugh on why.
Oh, you know what?
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
What?
I'm laughing because, okay, I thought you had actually stopped reading a text, but then we realized that you had fallen off, which is all good. And so we start talking a little Cardinals, and Jimmy and I were breaking it down. And then I look over, and Jim is looking at his phone, and he's really laughing. And I'm like, what's he laughing at? And then I look down at my phone, and I see the group text, Cam, Jim, and myself, and Cam says, my cat stepped on my Comrex and turned it off. Good Lord, she's going to hang with the coyotes tonight. I'm back.
Because it's warm. It's freezing in here. And so it's warm, so she laid on it, and I didn't realize. And I'm in the moment, reading the text. I'm like doing my thing, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't hear myself anymore. And she's like looking at me like, this is what you get for ringing that bell 15 times.
Okay, so here we go. You know what? You didn't miss much.
Fine.
Although, we broke it down. We kept it broken down. But I wanted to save this because I just loved this quote, the whole interview from Adam Wainwright last night, as if this man could do or say anything else to have people in St. Louis love him more. I always say top 5 human. I don't know if it's he and Gandhi, and you can make the other 4, but he's in the top 5. And I think what really resonates sports-wise, especially if you're not a hardcore sports fan, is when you get to see these folks as normal people, as dads, as husbands. And I'll tell you what, why don't we just play this clip first, and then we'll break it down. But this is Adam Wainwright. Last night, the commish asked him a question about basically dealing with his family having COVID over the last week or so and how he dealt with that. Jim Heuer.
Was your preparation at all disrupted when you had to stay home this weekend and be on the COVID list? Did you get your work in that you wanted to get in?
It was a little different. Yeah, it was a little different. And this goes out to all the mothers out there because, wow, especially when you have as many kids as I do, she does so much, and you know that, but you don't know it until you got to do all the stuff, And I was just telling Schulte and Marmol that several times at the end of the night I'd folding laundry and doing my 7th load of laundry and worried about all this other stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like, Dad, we're hungry, and I'm like, it's dinner time. Dang it. And so you eat stuff maybe I wouldn't have eaten before, and the kids were loving it, and I was out there dragging my behind all night, and I'm sure that played a little bit into it, but there was a time that this last week that we got back from the road, and I went straight to a hotel because all my whole crew had it. And my wife, she texted me at one point and just said, I can't go anymore without you being here. And so I had to go. That's why I had to go home. And when my wife says that, she's a tough lady. She's a really tough girl. And so when she said that, I knew I had to go home. And yeah, she needed me there. So I'm glad I got to help out. But I miss her. She's just an incredible woman. She's an incredible person, incredible wife, incredible mom. And you don't really realize how much they do until you got to fill that void. And gosh, just what a blessing she is to me.
Cam. Okay, so listen to that clip. And I posted it last night on my YouTube channel. You can listen to the whole thing. You can watch it. And my wife texted me today because she had looked at it, and she just goes, I love Waino. And she doesn't even really like baseball that much. But listening and watching that clip, it's so relatable. And the fact that it's Mother's Day week here. And not only is it really heartfelt, and he's given a great shout-out to his wife, 5 kids, by the way, that all had COVID, and his wife as well. And Waino goes on to say later, we didn't play that part, but the kids were fine in terms of symptoms, but his wife was not, and she was having a rough time with it. And I laughed in the middle, though, when he said he's doing 7 loads of laundry, and he's got 5 kids, and he forgets about dinner. Because I've been there so many times. And also, I have 1 kid, by the way. I mean, I can't even imagine 5. But you get to the point where you literally do forget, and you're probably putting your kid in front of the TV more than you should because you're doing something else. Daddy, I'm hungry. And you look around, and you haven't really planned. And next thing you know, your kid is eating 3 granola bars and 3 pieces of string cheese, right? I just felt like
Pop-Tarts.
Waino, right, Pop-Tarts. Waino probably ordered some pizza. I think that's what he meant. Whatever it was, he probably wasn't giving the meal his wife wanted him to. But, man, I just think so many people can relate to that. To Adam Wainwright, the guy who's going to be a first-ballot Cardinals Hall of Famer, at home with his kids, 7 loads of laundry, feeding them. And then, by the way, his whole routine was messed up. I know he didn't pitch well, and maybe that wasn't the whole reason. You got to think that played a role. I think it also, Cam, though, speaks to the fact that we always look at these dudes as just athletes, and sometimes we forget all the other stuff that's going on in their lives, especially during COVID, where people are dealing with all kinds of weirdness.
Yeah, man, the COVID thing's a scary part. Like, if she had the flu or something, you could always, hell, he could probably bring, doctors to his house, you know what I mean? Like, he could do what he wants. But COVID thing's it's a scary thing, man. Like, people have died from it. And I know that they die from the flu, but it's just different. Your whole family gets it, and then that just shows that the vaccine probably helped them, man, right? Like, I'm not
yes.
I mean, that had to have helped. Like, he didn't get it. Like, that's a pretty good sign for everybody that's got the vaccine. So that in itself is a good thing to see. But man, he's a real dude. He's got a ton of money. We all know that. He's a superstar. He could do whatever the hell he wants. And yeah, loads of laundry. I'm sure he probably has a robot that could probably do it. You just press a button. So we can't feel too sorry for him. But when your whole family gets COVID, and you got to fly home, and then you just listen to him be real. He's the best of the best, man. And I do like to hear the normalcy of some of these athletes, and he certainly brings that.
And that's where the whole vaccine thing, he mentioned that later, and that's one of the big takeaways I took from it. And look, I'm not even trying to get into the whole argument about it. I'm halfway there with the vaccine. I had my first shot, and we have the second one. I believe it's middle of May here. But the fact that you hear so much about COVID and people being around other people and, you probably got it. I mean, think about it. If you have 5 kids and your wife that you're living with your kids, you're playing with them, you got to give them baths and all that, you're giving them hugs, you're giving them kisses and all that, and you have, 6 people in your house that have COVID and you didn't get it, that's the first thing I thought of, honestly, was man, this dude got the vaccine and he didn't get it. And I think that does say a lot. It's just one particular case, but that did stick out to me.
Your whole family, it's got to be everywhere. You're hugging your kids have COVID. You're probably still gonna hug them. I don't know. That's a tough one. What do you do? And the kids are probably confused too. Daddy, can I get? Can you hug me? I don't know, man. That sucks. But it's all good, and she's fine, right? Is she okay now? It's nice to see that the kids weren't sick. That's always a good thing to know. When you see these cases and the kids feel fine, Now, of course, the wife's a little bit older. Maybe it affected her in a different way, but it's nice to see that the kids were okay as well. But God, you walk into that house, you're like, is he able to like touch the kids and hug them and things like that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I just think also everything with COVID is so odd, and I'm not even just speaking about the virus, but trying to play sports in COVID. We talked about this last year so much when the Cardinals were stuck in that hotel in Milwaukee for how long? I can't even remember. However long it was. And Jack Flaherty's putting on Instagram that he's throwing baseballs off a mattress, right? And you're doing all this stuff, and then you still gotta take a break, however long they were off, and they come back. They have to restart their season. And I just think sometimes, and again, this gets back to the Matt Carpenter talk, and I said I wouldn't talk about Matt Carpenter today, but it's about expectations, and nobody feels sorry. I don't feel sorry for the professional athletes that make $20 million. I don't. But it does make them more relatable, in my opinion, when you see sometimes what they're going through, where Waino's saying, look, I have a net in my backyard. I'm throwing against a net. He said he went to Busch Stadium and followed all the protocols. So I don't know if that means he's throwing a bullpen of just throwing baseballs with no catcher. I don't know. But again, he's got 5 kids with COVID. His wife has COVID, and she was basically hit pretty good by it, he said.
Yeah, man.
And
She's
still he's doing all that. And he's throwing in the net in the backyard, and he's going to Busch Stadium. He still gets a win.
He still gets a win.
He did get a win. We can break down the win stat. But you know what? Even though he gave up 5 earned in 5 2/3, if any time somebody deserved a win for, let's be real, not really pitching that great, it's him. I give him the win for laundry. I give him the win for dinners. I give him the win for bedtime, bath time, and all the stuff he had to deal with.
Okay, real quick. As an athlete, you're not dealing with that, dude. Like, come on. Like, you got your maids, you got people you got 5 kids. Like, Waino probably has you should have a ton of help if you want that. But then this happens, no one wants to be around you. So now it's on you, and then you have to go perform. And again, he makes a ton of money, he's going to be fine, whatever. But he still has to do something completely different. Now you're real dad. Like, no one's helping you. He probably didn't even know how to do the laundry. Like, sometimes I forget because Kate does it all the time. And so it's like, whoa, this is different. Oh, the kids, and they're probably, God, if there was a camera in that damn house, it would be the cutest thing in the world watching those guys. He's probably it reminds me of what I'm doing with the puppies, where I'm like, oh, hey, they're not there. Oh, I'm running over here. Oh, this is on. Oh, the stove's on. He'll put that down. Do this, do that, do that. And he, for the first time, then he has to go out there and perform, and he still gets the win. That's baseball karma. Good things happen to good dudes, and he is certainly one of the best ever. And if anybody doesn't like Wainwright, you got problems. Look in the mirror and just check yourself real quick, because that's the real deal right there.
It is funny, though. You mentioned about not being able to do the laundry. And I don't think that's probably the case, but you never know, because we fall into these roles, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, and all that, where you do stuff and then she does other stuff, right? And because you kind of separate those tasks, you don't really ever learn about doing the other things until all of us, right? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's yard work, cleaning, cooking, and I'm not trying to say anything about gender roles, but usually in a household, you do different things. You do half the stuff or whatever, and she does the other half, and then you don't really even learn how to do her part until all of a sudden you have to, and you have no clue how to do it.
Dude, 100% right. Can I get a read a text real quick from
100%. Colton Pareko
Tape chimes in. It goes, hey, boys, I do have one question about the Waino being around his family and not getting the COVID. How long ago was that? Don't they have a 10-day waiting period once you come in contact with somebody with the COVID before you are clear?
Well, he was testing negative, though.
Yeah, he was still being tested while this was going on.
Okay.
So he tested negative every time.
And he also said this, and I should know the protocols exactly, and I don't, and I apologize for that. But he also said it did fall, this issue and having to deal with this with his family, it kind of fell from a baseball standpoint at the perfect time in between his starts.
Again, baseball karma. Good things happen to good people. We talked about Tom Wilson.
He's a good person?
Tom Wilson's a good person, but he's a horrid Satan on the ice, and something bad's going to happen. But if you're a good dude like Wayno, man, like that's just that kind of stuff happens. So, and he's still kicking around playing, man. Like, I don't know how you do that. You deal with all that, and all of a sudden you're thinking of your 5 kids, like, because you just don't know, right? Like your wife, like I'd be if Kate was sick with the flu, you're like, okay, we're going to deal with this. But if she had COVID, I would be, and she was sick. Oh God, that would mess me up big time, dude. I wouldn't be able to leave her.
Final baseball thought. We were talking earlier about Jacob DeGrom, and I'm just looking at his numbers. And this year, okay, his ERA is 0.51. He has 59 strikeouts. That leads the league. The ERA leads the league. I know it's early. He's only made 5 starts. But 59 strikeouts in 35 innings. And wins, they don't matter. I get it. I just find it so funny that this man is so freaking good, and he always goes about 10-9. And that's, I'm kind of, I'm taking all of his years. There was the year where he had a 1.70 ERA, and he went 10-9. And that Twitter account, that Super 70 Sports, that's really, really funny on Twitter, they threw out a tweet the other day, and they said, Jacob DeGrom gives up a run about once a month and still manages to go 10-9 every single year. And it's kind of funny because it's relatively true. This man in his career, records of 9-6, 14-8, 7-8, 15-10. In his Cy Young years, in his 2 Cy Young years, Jim Heuer, he goes 10-9 and 11-8 with ERAs of 1.7 and 2.43. Even last year, 2.38 ERA, he was 4-2. This year, 0.51 ERA, and he's 2-2. And I know the win stat, it is what it is. But this guy also, every time I look at his box score, he's going 8 or 9. Like when he goes, okay, for some pitchers nowadays, we commend them if they have 5 solid innings and they've thrown 92 pitches. It's a surprise for Jacob DeGrom. Right. It's a surprise for Jacob DeGrom to go less than 7 innings. And that tells you a lot in this current state of baseball where 7 innings is like, oh my God, this guy's going 7 innings. Jacob DeGrom, I feel like goes 8 every game.
He is the best pitcher in baseball. And to your point about the win total, it doesn't matter. But you know what? If he was playing on the other side of the town with the Yankees, all those would be 20-plus win seasons. It really does depend on what, your team and how can they score runs for you or not. If he was playing for the Yankees, he'd have 60 more wins over the last 3 years, not including last year because it was half a season. But he would have about 60 wins plus. I mean, he's that good, and good luck tonight. By the way, how would you like to be Johan Oviedo, who just was activated today as they put Hicks on the IL, and go, hey, you get to start, kid, but you're going against Jacob DeGrom, so good luck with that.
And the Cardinals will probably win, honestly. Jacob DeGrom will go 8. He'll give up maybe 1 run, and the Cardinals will somehow in the 9th, they'll win the game 2-1 or something like that.
I take it.
So what does that mean, though? What does that mean, though? Like if he gets more wins or not, like do people really look at that and they're like, well, your win loss total, like Hall of Fame.
If you're winning,
like, what do you?
If you're winning Cy Youngs, I don't think it's going to matter as much, but it will. It could be a thing they can use in terms of when you get to contract negotiations. I mean, you go, hey, I won 20 games 3 straight years. You got to pay me. I mean, yeah. There is that part of it.
With him, I just think he is so much right now, at least the last 4 or 5 years, regarded as the best pitcher in baseball overall, that we laugh at the win thing. It just doesn't really matter with him because he's so good in every other category. In ERA, he goes out there and he's pretty dang durable as well in making 30-plus starts in most of these full seasons and logging 3 straight 200-inning seasons before COVID hit where he's only able to throw 68, but he made all his starts last year. And he's led the league in strikeouts the last couple years, currently leads the league in strikeouts. ERA plus, he's led the league a couple times, led the league in FIP, fielding independent pitching as well, and also strikeouts per 9 the last couple years. He's right now averaging 15 2/3 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's crazy especially when you think about the fact that he's a starting pitcher, right?
Yeah.
That's usually the number that is the closer who throws 102 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy does get close or throws 100 miles an hour. But the fact that a starting pitcher, and I know it's early, it's a small sample size, but still, his numbers are
He's
just
so consistent,
incredible.
though, right?
Yeah.
What's he making?
You know what? He got the deal. He never really hit free agency, right? So he's got 5 years, $137.5 million from 19 to 23, which is a discount. So what's the math there? What's 140 basically divided by 5?
Hold on, let me think.
Is that 28-ish?
Let's see. God,
I'm not good at math.
2 and a 5 and a 6 and then
140 divided by what?
137.5 divided by 5. Isn't that about 20? Is that 28?
26.
Okay, so
26.
26.
28, something like that.
But look at what guys are getting now. Look at Garrett Cole. I know Trevor Bauer's deal was a shorter amount of years, but aces like Jacob DeGrom now are going to get a deal for an AAV over $30 million. What did Garrett Cole get? 36? So as great as Jacob DeGrom is, and the fact that he's making $26-ish million per year, that's still a great deal for the New York Mets.
Oh, yeah, it is.
throw him a change if you see him on the streets.
I will.
Throw change at him.
I feel bad for him.
Peasant.
I feel bad for Adam Wainwright. I feel bad for Matt Carpenter. Okay, I feel bad for all these guys.
Tom Wilson.
I don't feel bad for Tom.
Clem Costin.
Everyone. All these athletes. I feel bad for all of them.